Okay, in the last video, we talked about stories and how stories can be a very powerful mechanism for delivering a message. And I want to focus on two areas right now, getting a little bit more into the science of storytelling and why one, you're more likely to retain the information when you hear a story versus just information, and secondly, why we're more likely to act on on stories more than information. For one, our brains are just more wired to retain stories than information. I'll cite a Stanford study that actually found that you're more likely to remember story. You're 22 times more likely to remember stories than just data and information alone. So the reason for that is data and information connects with parts of our brain responsible for comprehension of language. So when we share data and information with somebody, they understand, hopefully they understand if we're being clear and that they understand what we're saying. But data information does a poor job of getting somebody to actually to feel something. And it's typically how we feel about something. Our feelings tend to drive our actions more than just our thoughts. Stories do something else that information alone doesn't do. Stories literally alter our brain chemistry. So it alters chemicals in our brain like dopamine, endorphins, oxytocin. These are chemicals that get us to feel something. And we're more driven to take action on things. We're more driven in our decisions by our feelings more than facts and information. So in the exam room, you can use both. I mean, you definitely have information that you need to share. I'd be cautious not to overwhelm people with information, but you can combine information with stories as well. And it's great. We referenced before TED Talks. If you can tie together information in a story, makes it much more impactful. Example would be sharing some information about a treatment plan you have, and then talking about a patient that had a lot of success with that treatment regimen. So when you add that story to it, that patient's going to be much more likely to remember that what you're talking about, that information tied to a story, than if you just gave them the information alone. So give it a try. Just what I would say is collect stories. When you have a patient in the chair, somebody you've treated that had a lot of success, the flip side of that would be a patient that didn't follow your advice and maybe the outcomes were negative. You're not sharing names, of course, no HIPAA violations here, but collect those stories. Get a notebook and collect them and share those stories as you're educating your patients.